It was expected that the final would take a pair a good week to get back to the school. Typically, you were put in an area that was more remote, and you might encounter mild troubles. So instead, the next day, Pedro and Lorena drove them to another pack that the Alpha had spoken to and arranged for the four of them to go and visit, as well as Y. They arrived as night was falling. It was the pack's Alpha that came to meet them.
I am Alpha Sanchez. I understand you are here to collect some of our dead?
Yes, Alpha.
As she spoke, Featherwind and Hayahi appeared next to her. Their sudden appearance startled him.
I have been tasked with helping the living new moon wolves to connect with their fallen counterparts that can teach them the ways of the gifts that have become lost in time. Do we have permission to enter your lands and collect some of your dead to benefit all new moon wolves?
I will allow it. Come and let us offer hospitality to your escort, and then I will take you to our burial grounds,
he replied. Featherwind put a hand on Aaron's shoulder.
Hiahi and I will go and speak to the dead first, so that we can speak to the new moon wolves here first. It will help make this quicker.
Aaron nodded, and before the Alpha could respond, they had already left, disappearing from sight.
Who was that?
Sanchez asked.
That was Alpha Featherwind. He's the one that placed this guise on me. The other is Hiahi. He was a new moon wolf, and the only one that was left at Pedro and Lorena's pack,
she replied. Sanchez led Pedro and Lorena to his home and introduced them to his mate. He then took Aaron and Leo over to the burial mounds where Featherwind met with them. Sanchez chose to go with them to ensure that his pack's dead were not desecrated. As they neared the burial grounds, Featherwind appeared, which startled Sanchez, and led the trio to the first of the dead she would be contracting.
We have searched and spoken to many of the dead, and there are only 2 here. Hiahi is with the other,
Featherwind explained as they walked. He made the introductions with the new wraith, and Aaron was able to protect the bones and make the contract. Sanchez had never witnessed anything like this. While Aaron worked, Leo quietly explained what was going on and why they were doing it. Soon enough, they headed to the other new moon wolf Hayahi was with. Hayahi did the introductions this time, and Aaron completed the rituals. She could feel the extra weight of the contracts, but again, they were not great.
Come back to the house for the night, and I'll call a few other alphas in the area and see if they will host you for a night. I agree this is important and deserves all of our attention.
Alpha Featherwind had him wait while he used his gifts to determine which nearby packs had new moon wraiths and which were closer to oblivion. Sanchez took Featherwind's guidance and made the appropriate calls. They did this for the next week, going to a new pack each night and collecting new moon wraiths. Featherwind traveled back to his bones resting at the Blackwell home and notified Jacob so he didn't worry about the length of time they were gone. Jacob, of course, also let Alpha Matthews know so he also did not worry. They were finished at the 5th pack land since leaving Alpha Menendez's pack when Featherwind suddenly sat down next to Aaron, eyes wide and unseeing.
Is he okay?
Leo asked.
I think his oracle gift has a hold of him,
Aaron replied. After a few minutes, Featherwind blinked a few times.
We must go.
He stood up and began walking towards the car.
You must come with us, Alpha Ruiz. There is a deserted pack land not far from here from when the packs merged. The dead are still there being attacked nightly by a soul eater. We must go and bring the dead back to a pack land to rest. How could the people forget to bring their dead when they merged?
Ruiz had seen the rituals and seen how many dead were on the pack lands. He had even recognized his own grandparents and suddenly felt ill for the dead that had been left behind. He quickly prepared 2 pickup trucks and gathered as many canvas bags as could be found on short notice, and then followed Pedro in the jeep they had come in. He could see Featherwind giving directions to the abandoned pack lands. It was 3 hours of fast driving before they tore past the outbuilding that would have been where outsiders called into the pack for permission to enter. They were in northeastern Arizona, edging close to New Mexico. The land was higher and rockier in the Colorado Plateau, in an area with more scrub bushes and a few trees. The land was both beautiful and desolate feeling. Homes and other structures stood long abandoned, and they drove right to the edge of the burial grounds. Everyone poured out of the vehicles and ran after Featherwind, who was leading them to the Soul Eater.
I really wish I had that sword you made when we first went up against a Soul Eater.
Leo lamented.
I still have it at home, you know.
We won't need it this time. I've learned much more and have a few tricks up my sleeves now.
Aaron replied.
Not to mention the dead now contracted with me.
They all appeared around her, ready for battle. Some even held weapons of their own, fashioned from the caul that covers your face when you are newly dead, or even from rival wraiths that had crossed them. Even dead, you could find yourself the tool of another, and disrespect one of the elder New Moon Wolves, and they would make a tool out of you. Aaron now had 10 contracted wraiths, and they flowed out like a fighting squadron. The living wolves had never seen anything like it as Aaron and her wraiths descended upon the Soul Eater. They were all attacking with good effect, even Aaron, as she was able to grab bits of the Soul Eater and twist it upon its body like one would wring a towel of water. This caused the Soul Eater much confusion as it fought to right itself. While they fought, she continued to shift the Soul Eater's body, keeping it disoriented as the wraiths butchered it. When it was finally destroyed, Leo saw many more souls released from it than the Soul Eater back home. This one had been allowed to feast unhindered for as long as this pack had been abandoned. Tears were visibly falling down Ruiz's face as he saw how few dead remained as they came to speak with Aaron and Featherwind. Then they spent a long night of collecting the remains of the remaining dead to be taken back to Ruiz's pack and reburied there. It had been a long night already, so instead of heading back, they checked the houses for good sleeping spots, and Aaron used her Matter Arcane to clear the rooms and beds of all the dust. The wolves used their totems to clear out larger animals such as rodents, lizards, scorpions, and spiders. And then Aaron used her Death Arcane to kill any pests that remained in the bedding, such as fleas. It was late the next morning when they finally all returned to Ruiz's pack. They had a ceremony that the pack attended to rebury the dead and to welcome them to the pack. Only 10 of the dead had survived the Soul Eater, and the knowledge had saddened them all greatly upon hearing what had happened at the abandoned packlands. They had traveled to all of the packs within Arizona by now, so called into the school to find the nearest portal and traveled back to the school. After speaking with the survival class teacher and giving a debriefing and explanation for her healing, they headed to the phones first. The survival class final was a senior's last thing they needed to do at the school, so they were allowed to leave for home immediately after or wait if they wished. They chose to leave immediately, so both of their families were set to come and help them pack the next day. After they both got off the phones, they headed back to the pack house first to grab showers, and then to the food court to eat. They met up with Celeste and Travis, who marveled over Aaron's healed eye and leg, and marveled again at what mages and werewolves were able to accomplish together. They also shared how they had traveled all over Arizona and collected New Moon wolves from each of the packs, as well as what happened at the abandoned packlands.
Do you think that is happening at other abandoned packlands?
Travis asked.
I do. Though even if they are safe, those dead have no hope of resolving anything holding them to this world. At least if they were on packlands, they might be able to get help from the living. I've learned from the wraiths I'm in contract with now that New Moon Wolves would be the ones that are supposed to help the dead cross over, much like how Necromancers do. They don't use contracts like mages do, but helping the dead was supposed to be part of their purpose within a pack. That has been lost, and the dead are suffering for it.
Alpha Matthews is going to begin to set up visits with the packs he has contacts with based on Alpha Featherwind's list. As we begin traveling to the packs, we will begin asking the Alphas if they have contacts within the packs we haven't been able to speak to yet. We'll also ask about abandoned packlands so we can help those wraiths too. It will be a lot of traveling, but we think we should be able to go to every pack by the time the annual singles meetup happens.
Leo replied.
Hey everyone, hope you loved the video. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe for more awesome sci-fi content. You can also support us by hitting the thanks button or becoming a channel member. Your generosity helps us bring you more stellar stories. Every bit counts. Thanks a bunch.